Hello everyone, this is Dragon Fist. I'm back again, and today I'm going to review this book. It's called The Otake Secrets of Strategy, and it's, for the most part, it's about attack and defense and direction of play in the early middle game. It is a part of the Heart of Go series, which the last book I reviewed was also part of the Heart of Go series. And as you may remember, the binding was terrible, and it's really the case with this book as well. I haven't been rough with it or anything, but you can already see that the binding is not good. The glue is off here. So yeah, just keep that in mind with these books, these Heart of Go series books, and maybe every book from Inoki Press, I don't know, but definitely this one and Perceiving the Direction of Play, they both have this issue where the binding is really bad. So there's that. The title, it says Otake's Secrets of Strategy. Kind of misleading. There's no secrets, there's no special strategy tips in the book. It's just basic guidelines for how to play, for the most part, in the middle game in regard to attack and defense. Basic principles, and really the author emphasizes on aggressive style. So if you are a passive player, this book might help you, especially if you're in the queues, in the upper queues, like 5Q to 1Q. This book might help you because the author really emphasizes an aggressive style. The book is divided into basically 3 parts. First, there's an introduction with various principles. So you can see here 10 conditions of Go knowledge, and there's like different principles basically. Mostly it's like I said, in regard to attack and defense and direction of play, like controlling the center. It's very important to jump into the center, not to get pushed around. It's important not to follow Joseki all the time. Maybe you can attack your opponent. These kind of ideas. But the thing is, in this introductory chapter, a lot of these examples, they don't have many pages. Like the total introductory chapter is like, I think it's like 18 pages. So you have 10 principles, and some of them have like 1 page or 1 example. And I don't think that's really enough to get it in your head. Like, some of these examples I think could have used more, or some of these principles or guidelines could have used more examples. So I think it was a little short, but it's not even considered a chapter in this book, it's just the introductory part. But yeah, I think it could have been better if it was more examples. After that there's problems, so there's like 33 problems. So you can, yeah, something like this. See, there's a problem there, and it's very much similar to Perceiving Directional Play, where there's a problem and then there's various diagrams, various continuations and a solution. The diagrams are better than in Perceiving Directional Play. In Perceiving Directional Play there were no labels for the diagram, so you have no idea which one is the correct one. Here you actually know, so at least it's labeled better. The thing about these problems is that there's only 33 of them, so I honestly don't think that's enough. I think it could have been a lot more, because the problems are good for the most part, they're good problems, but there's only 33, and not all of the guidelines are actually elaborated on in the problems. So some of these principles and guidelines we don't really see anymore in the book. So like, what's the point? And it's not even 33 problems. It's like because a lot of these problems are from the same game, so sometimes there's like a game that has, I believe one of the games has 7 problems, so you're going through the same game, the same situation on the board, and the different problems are from that same situation with just, you know, a few moves in between. And sometimes the author will actually say the correct solution for the next problems in the problem, so you know the answer, but the author will say like, well, you know the answer, but let's look at it anyway. So in reality there's not really 33 problems, there's less. And I feel even though the problems are great, I really like these problems, it could have been more. Also the level of this book, for me I would say it's a little easy. In the Go Game Guru shop, this book is labeled as advanced. I would say that's incorrect. I'd say it's more of an intermediate book. The problems aren't that hard. I would say I think I got most of them correct. It's, you know, the levels is for, I would say, upper single digit Qs, like 5Q to 1Q are the levels of the problems for the most part. Perceiving directional play was more difficult. The problems in perceiving directional play was harder than in this book. So it's, I would say it's appropriate for upper single digit Qs, especially if you're a passive player, because, like I said, the author really emphasizes that you should be a little aggressive and take the initiative and stuff like that. So if you have problems with you are a little too passive, you feel that you kind of lose control of the game, this book might help you with that. So yeah, problems are great, I just didn't think they were enough. So after problems there are game reviews. There are 6 game reviews. So there are 3 game reviews that are with amateur games. Well, actually there's 2 game reviews that are between amateurs. I believe the level is like 4 or 5, I can check. I think it's 4 or 5 down. Japanese. Let's see. Yeah, the level is 5 down, so you can see it here. And you can actually see that the book is kind of getting destroyed. So this, if you can probably see it. This doesn't look good, so I have to be careful. But yeah, there are 2 game reviews between amateurs, 5 down, in Japan, which I think is similar to AJA. I think Japanese ranks are kind of weak, so I heard anyway. So I assume it's similar to AJ, which means they aren't that much stronger than I am. So, you know, that's good for me anyway, to read reviews of these players, because they are fairly similar in strength, and I could kind of see their thoughts. But here's the thing. The reviews in the next chapter, which are professional reviews, I like more than these amateur reviews. The reason for that is that the professional or the author, I don't know, I don't think he always explained what happened on the board that well. It's like he takes things for granted sometimes. Sometimes he will say that a move is obvious, but I don't think that's helpful at all. It's not obvious, you know. If it was obvious, I wouldn't buy the book. So why does he say that the move is obvious? I don't think that's helpful. Sometimes it wasn't obvious for me. Sometimes he will say that a move is bad and give a very short answer as to why, and then you should have played somewhere else. But me reading the book was kind of confused, because I questioned, or me being close to this player's strength, I kind of saw the real reason why they played the way they did, or I think I did, and the author didn't explain why that was bad. You know what I mean? I feel that I didn't get my questions answered with the reviews, which was kind of confusing. So I didn't like these amateur reviews that much. Like, they're okay, they're not bad, but I was just kind of confused at times. The professional reviews I like more. So here's the thing, there's two amateur game reviews, then there's an amateur version of a professional game, and then there's 3 professional games. In total they have like, there's 100 pages for all 6 reviews. The professional reviews I thought were good. It's the typical good game reviews you would expect from a professional. It's nothing special in my opinion, it's just good game reviews that you would expect. And so I like the reviews, but it wasn't anything special. And what I find kind of strange is that it doesn't really tie into the beginning of the book. Like, the first introduction with all the principles and guidelines, then there's all the problems which elaborate on these guidelines, but then there's reviews that I feel like could have been in any book. Like, it almost felt I was reading another book when I read the game reviews, because it doesn't really tie into the guidelines given earlier. Like, sometimes the author will say that, well, here this principle could be applied or something like that, but for the most part it's just generic game reviews. So it felt like it was like I wasn't reading the same book anymore. So that's like the biggest problem I have with this book actually, is that I really like the introduction and the problems, but the game reviews, while they are good game reviews, they feel like they could have been in any book. So I like the introduction, or the first part of the book, a lot more than the second part. I think I learn more from doing problems than reading game reviews. That's just my opinion. So yeah, that's really the biggest problem I have with this book. But the pro game reviews are good. Especially one game is a Otake game, which is considered one of the best Go players of all time. He was the 4th Honimbo and lived in the 17th century. So that game is really good. It's a really cool game. He uses some sacrificing techniques which are really cool. So yeah, that review is pretty cool. So yeah, if you like game reviews, you will like the reviews. They are good game reviews. They just don't, in my opinion, don't tie into the first part of the book that well. He does emphasize an aggressive style though. So even in the game reviews, he really emphasizes an aggressive style. So still, I think it's helpful for those of you that are passive players, if you really take this review seriously. I honestly kind of read quickly through the reviews. I'm not a huge fan of pro game reviews. Like, I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of pro game reviews. But I did read the entire book, but I didn't like sit down on a Goban and study the game reviews, really thoroughly. But they are aggressive games. That will probably help you if you are a passive player. So yeah, all in all, it's a good book. Also, it is mentioned in the book that there's like this movie, this documentary, where some of these professional games, they are in the documentary. I couldn't find it. I googled it. I couldn't find it. I think it's like this Japanese Nihon Kien documentary. I'm not even sure if it's a real released thing, because I couldn't find any information on it. But yeah, it's kind of weird that it is in this English translation. It says that you should look at this documentary. Anyway, the translation is good, the writing is good. So yeah, I do recommend this book if you are an upper GGQ player. If you are, let's say, between 5Q and 2 Dan on KGS, something like that. I thought the book was a little easy, the first part. Honestly, I don't think I learned from it, just because I've heard these guidelines before. But some of them are things I learned from my teacher when I was 1Q. So it might help you even if you are a low down player. Actually, the second part of the book, the reviews, are a lot more advanced than the first part. Like, I'd say the second part is down level. Like, the reviews are down level. They're meant for down players. It can get pretty complicated in the reviews. But the first part is more for stronger Q players. Which again kind of makes the book a bit inconsistent. It's almost like it's two different books in one, in my opinion. But I do recommend it if you are, at least if you are a little bit passive, strong single Q players. Maybe if you haven't had a teacher, because teachers will often kind of emphasize style and try to correct your style. And this book also focuses on that. To give you guidelines and to help you with your style. So yeah, it's a good book. I would say it's like a 7.5 out of 10. I would say the first part is much better than the second part, but still it's overall a good book. So yeah, that's Otake, Secrets of Strategy. I've also written a review for this on my website, learnbaduk.com. Under the book reviews page, I have written a review for this one as well. So anyway, I hope this video was in any way helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.